Hello stylish people! Today we are joined by a wonderful culinary artist who has received unparalleled distinctions, including being the youngest chef to be awarded 3 Michelin stars. A revolutionary in his area, his idea is that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, which he achieves flawlessly. The man is credited with changing the face of modern British cuisine and setting new standards for creativity and excellence. Chef Marco Pierre White, a world-renowned culinary artist who offers an outstanding selection of gastronomical meals on your plate, is today with TheStyle.World at JW Marriott, Bangalore. So how are you finding India?
As I was saying, to be invited to India is always a privilege, and I class it as a rare luxury. And people always ask me when I go back home, what was it like? And I always say, it's the most extraordinary country on earth. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's real, it's extreme. You can't ignore the extremes. Like if I think of my life in London, you live in a bubble. You live in Paris, you live in a bubble. You live in New York, you live in a bubble. In India, you see everything.
Right.
It's one giant bubble, and you see everything. And the emotional impact on you is enormous. And it's just, everything's so deliciously extreme. I mean, you know, it's like we were just talking about traffic jams. It's the only country on earth that I don't notice a traffic jam. And I'm quite happy for them, because I just look out of the window and the eye is always amused. There's so much to see. If there was no traffic jams, you'd miss so much.
Yes.
And seeing is believing. And as I say, there for the grace of God, go I. And you can't take life for granted. India exposes you to your inner self, I think.
Have you ever had a culinary disaster in the kitchen that turned out to be surprisingly delicious? Tell us about your accidental masterpiece.
I always believe that you have to accept your mistakes. Because by accepting your mistakes, you're given understanding. You must always take the knowledge from whatever disaster you create. And the truth is, we all make disasters. But every time we make a disaster, we have to take the knowledge from within that disaster. And the more we make disasters, the more we understand what we're working with. And it's as simple as that. As they say in life, you can't make an omelette unless you crack an egg.
Right. Imagine you are hosting a cook-off Olympics for celebrity chefs. What hilarious challenges would you like to include? Example, chopping board synchronization dancing?
I think take away the scales.
Okay.
Take away anything they can measure anything with. Take away all timers, take away all water baths, take away all modern day gadgets. Just leave them with the basics.
Brilliant. Simplicity as you believe in.
Well, as I always say, a chef's allowed to stray from the stove, but he must always stay close to the flame.
Right.
And I think, you know, when I watch the cooks in India cook, the simplicity is genius. And you can see that that knowledge has been passed down and passed down and passed down. And the greatest show, the greatest cooking show I ever saw was live. I saw a great-grandmother, a grandmother, a mother and a daughter all cooking together.
Yes.
And what was interesting, it was like looking at the structure of a professional kitchen. The great-grandmother was the head chef. The grandmother was the sous chef. The daughter was the chef de partie. and the young girl was the commie. And all that knowledge being passed down. But everything was through their fingers. There was no scales. The way they used spice, it was just so natural to them. Yeah, they just knew.
Yes.
Their scales was within their fingers.
Right.
And I think, if you look at the world we live in today, especially at this high end, it's a masterclass in technical ability. But where's the emotion? Where's the heart?
Right.
It's like I was asked yesterday, are chefs artists? And I said, a person who works with their hands is a labourer. A person who works with their hands and their brain is a craftsman. But a person who works with their hands, their brain and their heart is an artist. And all artists have one thing in common. They want to struggle. Because without struggle, where's the appreciation? Where's the imagination? Where's the reward?
Brilliant.
And that's why I say take everything away. There you are. Give them the basics.
Right. If you were an Indian spice or seasoning, what would you like to be called?
Wow. I like lots of spices. I like spice a lot. What is my favourite spice? I don't know. In the world of spice, saffron is the most expensive. Vanilla is the second most expensive. Do you know what the third most expensive is? Cardamom.
Oh.
Because they have to pick it. It's got enormous spikes. I learned that last year on TV. I was watching a TV show, I was watching a show on spice. But I suppose I would have to be vanilla. I think vanilla is my favourite spice, even though, for the simple reason is because of where it takes me. And then I think I'd have to be a bowl of vanilla ice cream. I find ice cream very comforting, and especially vanilla ice cream. So I suppose it's not a dish, but I think vanilla is extraordinary. I think it takes you somewhere where you've been, takes you back to your childhood. I think that's what's rather beautiful about food, is when you can eat something, it takes you back in time to places and people. And vanilla takes me back to my youth, my childhood.
Wonderful. So the next one is about creating memorable dining experiences. Dining at your restaurant is often described as a memorable experience. What factors do you consider when designing not just the food, but the entire ambience?
The most important aspect of any restaurant is the environment you sit in. That's the most important. Because if you don't feel comfortable, how can you feel relaxed? How you can begin to enjoy yourself? You can't. So the environment is the most important. And let's not forget, there's only one thing in life that never dates, and that's romance. Candlelight is the most romantic and the most flattering light of all. Secondly, service with a smile. It doesn't have to be incredibly technical.